Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Day After Podcasts.
So, do you want to hear my impression of Jake impersonating Tony?
Yeah.
Can you verify this for me? Uh,
Yeah. He tried. I don't know how well he tried, but he tried.
he tried, but like, g- I
It's
don't
so
know.
funny
Like,
because he failed so often and then it felt
it
even
got
failed.
this is the total drama season
Yeah.
of Survivor, officially hands down. What's up, guys? It is the 45 finale review, and boy. It was a great finale. Granted, I
Yeah.
was at a Bryson Wen Presents. I did get some like reaction stuff, and I'll probably put a little slideshow and a little review of what happened. But yeah, it was amazing. But also, fun fact, viewers at home, if you, so someone from this season actually watched and listened to our podcast. Um, yeah, you guys are gonna find Emily Flippin. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. She
Yeah.
came through after the CBS had their own screening, and so everyone from that came to Bryson Wen afterwards. And I was taking a picture with a friend I met there, and I was taking a picture for them, and then she was like, "And I know who you are," and I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "Wait, does Emily Flippin watch Starman or something?" And then she referenced us, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, that's so cool!" Um, it was awesome, and yeah, uh, but yeah,
Yeah, Emily
the
Flippin
finale
is a top 10 Survivor player of all time now in my books.
bec- because, and I did see Zach there. I mean,
Yeah,
Zach was aware of our channel because we had the
yeah,
cameo from him and stuff, and he
yeah,
got to know the channel a little bit, and he and I talked. Emily, I didn't know. Apparently,
yeah.
also, she doesn't run her social media. That's her sister that does
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah.
That's
So, like, there was no
hilarious.
way for us to be like, hey, and try and push it to her. She just found it on her feed, like on her Discover thing of like
Yeah.
recommended stuff. So, you know,
I'm glad. I'm glad that we gotta get put in front of Emily Flippin. I don't know how much you watched.
she was a little foggy on it a little too,
Yeah,
because like she had the morbid curiosity, is like, okay, what are people thinking of me?
yeah,
But no, yeah, I mean, like obviously, and I think the group consensus was like she was someone where, oh, in the beginning, a lot of people are like, oh, she's gonna try and play like Cass, that's not gonna be good, and like
hmm,
that per episode, yeah, but like she had a complete 180. She talked to Caleb. She got, humble and became one of the best parts of the show. And one of the best parts, I'll say, of the final tribal council too. Like, good
hmm,
gosh.
yeah,
But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But like that was exciting that night, being like, oh,
yeah.
yeah. Um, also, I won a shirt in a little charity auction. And also, I brought with me Ethan Zahn's autograph.
Yeah, look at that. Bam.
Yeah. Um, $25. It
Yeah,
was
that's a steal right there.
I think maybe because so the t-shirt is an extra small, maybe that turns some people away from it. But I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just my size. Uh,
Perfect.
so yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So yeah, obviously some of that is going to weigh your perception of the finale, but regardless, still a great finale.
oh yeah.
Like uh
Honestly,
yeah.
yeah. Honestly, my favorite part of the finale is just Jake.
Yeah. Jake was the star of this episode, even though he had a misstep after misstep after misstep. Literally, I mean, he misstepped onto the thing and broke that challenge in final in the
I
so
laughed. I
yeah.
like I didn't fall to the ground. I was kind of leaning at a table, but I
Yeah.
was laughing for a good like minute because
Yeah.
I, it's like Hamilton. me where it's like I wasn't aware that was something a person could do.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I didn't think much of it when he first did. I was like, oh, the challenge probably will like spring back up. And he just kept doing it, and then it just literally went off the hinges. It broke, and oh my gosh, it
Jeff Horner was
was
like, if you break that thing, you're
yeah,
out of the challenge. And then he did, and then it's
yeah.
like
Jeff was more mad at Jake for breaking that than either of the quitters on the season.
he was like, we're gonna use that for the next.
Yeah,
And that's never happened before. No one has
yeah,
ever broken
yeah.
a challenge apart from the only other thing that no one's intentionally broken a challenge. Like
Mhm.
there's well intentionally as in like he was like not giving a shit. He wasn't being careful. The only other time I can think of is when, they were doing the weights and the bar snapped near
Yeah.
the end.
Well, interestingly enough, so Jake has been compared a lot to Owen Knights, because of getting, brought along and not really being able to play the game. Owen Knight, Final Four, broke his pull also,
Oh, he
and was
did.
not allowed to continue the challenge.
Okay.
So somehow they have another parallel to each other. Though
My God.
I will say Jake had a tougher road there because people actually did want him out. Like, whereas Owen, people were like, why would we ever take out Owen?
Yeah. No, Jake, it is sad too. He got an advantage in the challenge and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, we can start right off, with the first challenge he had. I know we
Mhm.
jumped ahead to, the Final Four challenge,
Yeah.
but like literally, he had like he was propelling ahead and then whoops, he dropped his key. There's a reason they have the little like scrunchie at the end, so you don't lose it.
Yeah.
He had to go back.
Yeah, that was really sad. What's so funny too is he was so pumped before that challenge. Like, if you look at him, his like posture and like his like he was not like that for most challenges. He was just kind of like, okay, let's do it. But he was like, I gotta win this. Like when you get an advantage like that, you're like almost expected to win.
Yeah,
Even if it's minor, like you're kind of expected that you should win. Otherwise, it might look bad. He hasn't done much, so he needed this win.
yeah,
And him not winning, I do think had a lot of ramifications for this entire end game. And it's all because he just couldn't find that one piece. And Jeff tried, he did the multiple
hmm
things. And what was also so interesting about it was against Austin, like they were the final two.
yeah,
And Austin at final seven had a very similar situation happen on his season,
yeah,
on that challenge where he couldn't, he forgot to check the other side, and it felt like a very similar thing of Jeff trying to like give the information without like outright saying it.
yeah. I mean, because because if he did flat out say, because Jeff will give
Yeah,
hints during challenges.
yeah,
He will say, it was like, oh, this is a common survivor saying. Some would say this, this, this. Like, if it's going on for a while,
yeah.
like, but like the fact that he was like, so Jake gives him the piece, it's like, you were missing this.
Yeah.
And then to bring it up in tribal council, he was like, oh, well, Jake was like, well, I'm glad you brought it. So thank you, Jeff, because I didn't want to have to do it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, like, that challenge was, and it was kind of cool how he got the advantage for that too, because, basically the little challenge to get the advantage, or the first part of the challenge basically
Mhm.
was to go around, run around, and, count things and try and pull the little like bar from the locking mechanism. And I believe it was like, I think they put it on either Twitter, Insta, or something. Oh wait, X, Insta,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like it was like, it was like JT, Denise, and Gabler. Like they were like
Mhm.
message I remember watching or hearing something about it, and it was like, huh, that's weird. And then oh, this was what it was alluding to. It was like he memorized what numbers they were based off of the winner of that, the season that the number aligned to. So it
Yeah.
was like, ooh, that was kind of a clever, mnemonic device in
Yeah.
order to remember the thing.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. It's taking what would be six digits basically and then just turning it into three.
Yeah. Which, and it's easier because you associate it with something you love. That's just good studying strategy.
Yeah.
Um, Granted, if it was higher than 45, then it's like, so, you can't necessarily, unless
Yeah.
you can predict the future. And if
Yeah.
you can, please tell me. Uh,
Yeah, it's actually good that it was 43 and not 44 because they didn't know who the winner of 44 was yet either. So
you
it
probably could have just said Bruce because you knew Bruce.
yeah, true. But
Yeah,
then it might be different because then it's like, he didn't win the season, whereas the other two did.
yeah, no. Yeah, what were your thoughts on this first like little portion? And also like because Bruce and or not Bruce. Sorry, Bruce was on the brain. Because we did have Dee and Austin like have a little alliance, like, working together to count the stuff
Uh-huh. Yeah,
during that.
I thought that was interesting. I mean, obviously it didn't work out much for them, but it felt like they just thought that they had control, and I think it was less. It just felt like they didn't think that they needed to try as hard as say Jake, for instance. Like Jake was like, I have to do this. I have to win this. So,
Yeah.
and I do think taking your time and making sure each one like very clearly is way better than just getting it and then running to the next one and being like and trying to keep all the numbers together. So I
Oh,
think
yeah.
Jake definitely had the right strategy here. And this is the thing. I actually think Jake is a good player, but he was on a season where no one wanted to
Wanted.
like
Yeah.
play with him. Um
Which is sad. Even when he was trying to play an idol for,
yeah.
Katura, which congrats Katura. Like she won the fan favorite Sia.
Mhm.
She won the top prize, and then and also Caleb did as well as dang it, I'm blanking on the other one. It's because I saw it on Caleb's story. That was like, oh,
Yeah.
Caleb also got it.
Yeah, I haven't even seen this, so this is the first I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, so Katura did win the main SIA award. Caleb did, and then I'm a little foggy on who got another award.
Mhm. Um,
Was it?
I'm not sure.
It's out there.
It's Jake.
Oh yeah, it was Jake.
Yeah,
No, everyone loved Jake.
yeah,
Like everyone was cheering for Jake, but like even Katura was like, I can't trust you. It's like, but like, no, you want to get D out, so you might as well
yeah,
vote for D.
yeah.
It's
Also, it was her plan. Like she was the one who threw out D's name. Like
yeah.
she did so much stuff wrong in this episode. Like I do think she had a path to the end if this plan worked on D. Julie loses fire and she's sitting out there with Austin and Jake. I think there's a world where she ends up being able to do something there. Um,
Definitely.
but the fact that D doesn't go home here just kind of screwed
Yeah.
her over. like she was then guaranteed fire. Like I mean, maybe she was a challenge, but I'll be honest, I don't think that was really Jake or Katura's challenge. Like Jake did decent, but like I knew he wasn't like that's going to be a tough challenge, I think, for Jake. Um, so yeah, I think it really messed her up. Like you do not want to play safe at Final Five, and she played safe.
Yeah.
Which yeah, it's not great.
I think the thing is, it was like at that point, well, I mean, even before then, it was really at seven. But the thing is, it was like you can even go far back as like eight because, Emily's elimination happened because not necessarily because of the actions of, Katura and Jake, but more so because everyone was trying to dogpile on to Julia,
Mhm.
and she played her idol, and with Mama J safe, everyone else voting for her, she controlled who went home.
Mhm.
And so like, I would say up to like if you go back to probably the Bruce elimination, that was, you know, the amount of playability they had. And then like, basically it's the people in Reba who are in charge of like who in Reba goes and gets eliminated at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knew going into the finale here that Ariba was winning the game. I think it
Yeah.
was pretty clear that that's just kind of the outcome that was inevitable. I was watching this. I didn't get a great Survivor watch party like the Bryson one presents, but I was watching this with some people. It's their first time watching Survivor. Um, and I actually had to kind of go back and rewatch the episode because they hates D. They absolutely hate her. Like she opens her mouth and they just start yelling obscenities basically at her. Like they do not like her. And so I'm like, what do you have like wrong with her? And she's like, she's lying. She's deceiving them. I'm like, yeah, that's the game right there.
And I was
um
like, if you think D is the, if you think D is a huge liar and deceiver of Survivor, just wait till you go back.
yeah.
D is very mild compared to a lot of other people.
Yeah, I will say I think she's a new era villain, but
Yeah,
like that's not but like, it's
it's still like I wouldn't, like if I were to say like a big villain, I would not
yeah,
categorize her as a
no.
big villain. If anything, I'm like she is a very like strategic player and she thinks of the game like first.
Yeah. I mean, it's the
Um,
way like Parvati was a villain. Like, maybe she did like a couple kind of lying things to especially the guys of that
yeah,
season. Um and because of that, she kind of gets labeled as a villain. If they did a heroes versus villains too, I'd imagine she'd be on the villains tribe. And she would probably be with the person who says holds her hand up and says I was actually the hero on day one, just like how like Parvati also was kind of doing that. So
yeah. I don't
um
know. But yeah, yeah. I don't know. But like, you were saying about your friends, they didn't
yeah,
like the,
yeah, they
so
didn't
you had to
like.
rewatch.
Yeah, I had to rewatch it because honestly, like watching it with like other people, it's so interesting because like they're how they're going to react to something really can change like how you're viewing something, because now they're suddenly just like telling you in your ear something that frankly I think is wrong, but I can't now go back and watch it because it's live television. um
Yeah.
Also they love Jake. They wanted him to win, so I Final Tribal Council was definitely was tough to watch because they did not want to hear anything of what D said. They thought Austin was kind of boring, and then they just loved Jake, and then Jake wasn't getting a lot happening.
The thing is, it's like I feel like Jake, yeah, I think because like Jake did get the biggest like applause out of like the final five in
Yeah,
the thing. So it was kind of like because like I always like thought Jake was a very relatable dude
yeah,
and he contributed to two of some of my favorite moments of the season. One, breaking the damn challenge.
yeah,
And then two, him like the Top Gun playing with the boys
yeah,
montage. He was a part of that. And not only that, like his story, also like you just wanted him to win something because like
yeah,
like near the end he's like crying, he's like I just want one little victory in this game because like he just wasn't feeling like he was winning, and like even he knew he probably wasn't going to win, but it was like let him have something. And
yeah.
it's like that underdog thing, you're just like come on, like you just have to root him. It's like put him into fire so he can like redeem it, so come on.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Jake definitely is who one of my top people who I want to see return on a future
Yeah.
season. I'd say it's probably him and Emily are the two that I'd most want to see on this season make a return. But I do think there's actually a lot of people on this season that
Oh yeah.
I want to see again. Like last season, people love 44, but I really only see the Tiga 3 as people who I really want to see again. And then there's like a couple like
I would
yeah,
say Lauren, Heidi is
yeah,
Heidi as well.
yeah, but they're more like I'd want to see them with the hope of getting more out of them. Like,
Yeah,
whereas I think there's a lot of people on here who I think was just great and
I agree.
I already saw great things, and now I just want to see more great things because
Yeah.
I know that they're great.
Even back as Sabaya, like, like Sabaya
Yeah.
was like a big favorite, like, you know, and something where, she just got the raw end of the deal. She was on the Lulu Losers, clearly a tribe where, decimated. And then when they got to, like, and no one from that tribe made it past, final seven,
Mm-hmm.
like it just was a raw end of the deal
Yeah.
situation. And then you have a lot of fun characters. You have some people that were kind of cut down in their prime, like Kelly.
Yeah.
Um,
Caleb is a big one.
Caleb as well. Caleb as well. But then again, I think Caleb's biggest downfall was his threat equity. He just was not able to manage it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, which
it'll
I
be it.
wonder
Yeah,
I wonder how he would do in a returning season because I'd imagine he wouldn't actually be the biggest threat right
no,
off the gates in a returning season. He would actually be, on the bottom, maybe bottom middle kind of area in a threat level,
I
and
agree.
if he's able to kind of stay there, and then start trying to make his rise around the merge, actually, like he's definitely a dangerous player.
I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, no, there's a lot. I definitely think the top three I want to see back. I can see I want Katura to come back, but I only want her to come back if Bruce is not involved. It's
Yeah.
like let her be her own person.
Yeah. So do you want to know the statistic of how many confessionals that she had that were about Bruce?
Yes.
78% of her confessionals, and I'll just say her confessionals right now, she had 65 confessionals. So that means that 70% of those confessionals were about Bruce.
That's almost 80%, dude.
Yeah.
That's almost four-fifths.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because she had maybe one or two confessionals until Bruce went out that were not about Bruce, and then all of her confessionals afterwards were what made up like the remaining percentage.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Yeah, so
Uh,
yeah, understandable why she was upset with her edits.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I think I could see Julie come back. I can potentially see Drew. Maybe if he's a package deal with Austin, I can see that
Mhm.
happening.
Yeah.
Emily,
Drew's tough because I know they're gonna cast Carson over Drew
yeah,
if they did another All-Star season. And so it's like, do they want two, nerdy guys like
yeah.
archetypes in there? Like maybe it can work, but it's definitely pushing it a little bit, maybe.
By the way, I did talk to Drew about the Pokemon thing.
Oh, nice.
What I love about Drew is he doubled down. He was like, no. It was like, like he was like, I still see nothing wrong with it. It's like, hey, and it was one of his famous analogies that Jeff loves. And it was
Mhm.
like, so if you're about to go play chess, do you need to like make your own chess pieces, each pawn, each thing and stuff? And in my head, I'm like, compelling argument. And like, he and I talked about that a little bit where I'm like, this is a pretty good argument. And I'm like, I'm someone where like, what's going to win you the game is skills. As long as it's
Mhm.
like something where it's able to be achieved in the game legally, it's fine.
Yeah.
Um, but it was funny how he doubled down and like, like with that classic, like Drew's like, nah, screw that. No, I'm going by. what I think is right. And like, no, that was cool. Um,
Nice.
but honestly, I can see Bruce come back as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's possible. I think he was fun. I think what I've seen also on social media, it seems like he actually still prefers his 44 peeps compared to his 45, which, also looking at back at the edits,
Yeah.
he probably is like, oh man, everyone's talking trash about me.
Yeah.
Whereas I think 44, I think that Tika tribe would have been great for Bruce. I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
actually what Bruce needed to have a good game of Survivor. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, him not having that, I think definitely impacted him. But
I
yeah,
agree.
I could see Bruce. I mean, obviously Austin, I think it's like kind of the what I'd imagine the network would want to see is Austin come back in the
I
way
would
like
also like to see Austin come back.
yeah, but I'm just saying, like they usually like to get
Yeah.
the Malcolms, the Aussies. Like
Yeah.
I feel like they will be like, when they do like the All-Star seasons, it's like the network and Jeff Probst are like
Yeah.
almost drafting who they want. And I feel like Jeff's got some people that he's going to draft, and the network's going to be drafting Austin as like one of the first people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Kelly, obviously I can see come back.
yeah,
Jay Maya for a second chance. I feel like it's something where if it's a second, because like she has a pretty brutal elimination because it's
mm-hmm.
like a 1 in 6 shot that,
Yeah,
like basically it was just rotten luck. One of those things. And like, like I know like it's possibly it, it's a crapshoot, but I'm like, I can see her come back for a second chance.
mm-hmm.
So, Sabaya is another one. I'm like, I feel like she definitely needs to come back at some point.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I just listen.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Um,
basically listed like the casts. But
Not the whole cast.
yeah, there's at least two exceptions that I would say definitely won't be making a return. Um,
Obviously not the quitters.
yeah,
I don't think Brandon would want to come back
yeah.
at all.
I mean, it would be interesting if in like 3 years, like he actually had like he started going to the gym and was more
I,
athletic. Then
I
I actually think he would be a great addition to a season.
No, I was kind of like joking around with some people at the thing where I'm like he just goes under the tutelage of like Joey Amazing or
Mhm.
Ozzy or Tony and stuff and just like trains all the time. Gets
Yeah,
you know has gets trained by Sydney from Korong, to get all muscular and stuff like that. Just becomes a perfect threat
yeah, yeah. I
for
mean, I think Brandon was really hoping that Jonathan was going to be the returning player of the season and be on his tribe, because then Jonathan would just carry him
Oh
through
yeah,
the entire challenge. Which Jonathan is a very likely returning player, also. So,
easily. If
like,
we're talking, Jeff had, we're talking about bromances.
yeah,
One of the biggest bromances on the show was Jeff and Jonathan
yeah,
Young or
yeah,
Jonathan Thor. Like,
yeah.
like
Yeah, I mean, I think he's one of the ones that both Jeff and the network will love to bring
fans
back.
too. Fans
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
yeah.
so yeah, I mean, if he's on the season, maybe you bring back a Brandon who's great entertainment. You put him on the tribe with Jonathan and see what happens.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Other than that, I can kind of see like I would say those are the ones that kind of like stick out to me
Mhm.
that would probably come back. I'd say other people could potentially come back. It's something where it's like even like a Kendra, like imagine
Mhm.
Kendra and Carolyn on the same beach, or Kendra and Jam Jam
Yeah.
like hanging out, or I know this is I wouldn't say a deep cut, but like if Philip came back and interacted with a wild card, someone from a wild card archetype.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um
Yeah, and I think D is probably not coming back unless they did like another Winners at War. Like I think that's the only thing that would draw Dee to come back. And obviously, I don't think we were getting that ever. So, um,
It's
it's
tough.
yeah,
You know, I would say it would be tough. I feel like Dee kind of proved what she wanted to.
yeah,
And so like, and I think that's always kind of like the tough thing about coming back as a winner. It's like, like your reputation and whatnot as a
yeah,
winner. And especially it's a big target. And I feel like because of how dominant a game Dee played this time
yeah,
around, she would be a very big target. I would
yeah,
say best case scenario for her be like Kim Spradlin Wolf 2.0, where she is on a lot of people's radar and a target, but she's never targeted immediately flat out and goes out at round 8 or 9.
yeah. That's probably best case scenario as
Yeah.
well. Um, yeah, so I just doubt that happening. Like there are some winners in the modern era or the new era that I do think come back. I think Jam Jam is
Jam
probably
Jam easily.
he's in the personality type where he'll be like, yeah, let's do it. Like I
Yeah.
can just see him just being okay if even if he was the first boot if he returned.
Yeah.
I think he would just be okay to go out there again. Marianne also isn't that
She's
similar.
yeah.
Like I think also because she was like so young when she won that there's almost a level of like give her 5 years or something removed from that season that
Yeah.
she can be like I'm a new person now that's even I'm an even better player than I was back then.
Yeah. Um Erica, maybe. I feel like
Mhm.
she might want to come back and kind of prove herself, kind of like in a Michelle kind of way.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, if we're talking about the winners of it, and Gabler, I could see
yeah,
Gabler come back. He was at the
yeah,
screening. Very awesome dude.
yeah.
Very down to earth. Gave me and all of our peeps like as far as like, no, you guys have to submit and whatnot.
Hmm.
Because like, you know, you could be one of us. Like,
Yeah.
he may
Well,
have had he was openly talking about like, being down for the whiskey and whatnot. So and like when he assumes himself, I'm gonna get more whiskey. So like,
nice. Yeah.
but like, yeah,
That's an interesting thing you just brought up because I did also want to talk about this, but it felt like they were pushing applying for the show so much this season.
yeah.
Every episode there was that applied now to be on Survivor, and it kept going. Like normally there's a point where they stop because they've already gotten the like it's already cast for the next round or like the final decision are pretty much being made already.
46, 47. Actually, I met someone there where they did get an email, and
Mhm.
it was like around December, like 4th-ish.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's
yeah,
already there, but like they were still making, like the apply for it to be on now. So
I
I
don't
thought
know. Will you accept actors? Oh
that,
no, I have to do the SpongeBob thing.
yeah.
Actors.
No, what you got to do, Ryan, is you got to teach kids because they love that stuff. And then you can say, "I'm a theater actor for kids," and then they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you
The
connect."
Darman stuff I could, but I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I could just easily say the Darman thing,
yeah,
but who knows? I might.
yeah.
I told one person he's a new Survivor fan and he was, like definitely should. I think he's a really interesting person. I'm not just saying that because he may watch this, but like no.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I feel like, it is something where I could probably bring that up next time. And then when he messaged me, he was like, "Great meeting you last night." I'm like, "Don't forget to make your video because you said that Brando and Brandon were gonna look at it." Isn't this weird? It was just like, oh, we're hanging out with these survivors. Um, if you guys are able to do a Bryson win and go to them, I highly recommend it. It's just like so much fun, and you get to have conversations with some of these, people from the season, from past
Mhm.
seasons and stuff. It's super cool. So definitely should do it. Um,
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of stories you get to meet, get to experience,
yeah.
doing these. So yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, yeah, and you just get to hang around people that just love it. It's like back in the day with Marvel movies. It's like going to a Marvel movie in like 2018, 2017, or 2019. It was like
Yeah.
it's an event. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think it's just a very different experience watching Survivor with like a bunch of people. Like it definitely has its own value to almost everything that happens. Like kind of gets elevated.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. For the remainder of the episode, I know we kind of been hopscotching around and even talking about the season as a whole. I mean,
yeah,
we're not so formal on this channel. I
yeah,
mean, we usually save certain things for near the end of the video, but
yeah.
we kind of bounce around and stuff. Because that's how sometimes the flow of our conversation. But yeah, Julie, we gotta I dropped my magazine. We got to talk about the Julie elimination
Yeah,
because we touched on it a little bit with the idol, but the votes at a final five to be that fractured,
yeah,
that split
yeah.
was insane.
It was straight out of Brand Steel.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like, I was like, who's actually, does Jake actually go home here? Wait, Julie, it's like, I mean, obviously, when, because Jeff reads the council votes first. So like obviously when one vote went to Katura and we see Jake's name next, it's like, oh, okay. So Katura's safe, but like this is a Jake. And then oh no, Julie, D is what you know,
yeah,
uh, it was insane. Like that
yeah.
was like an insane moment there, where it's like basically a four-way split.
Yeah,
I
it
don't think that's
was.
ever happened on Survivor before.
No, there's never been a final five vote where everyone but the person who won immunity got a vote for them. So,
Yeah.
which is great. I really thought Jake was going home here. I thought that was Katura's thing, was she was just gonna take out Jake or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Jake obviously plays idol for Katura, so that vote's off the table. And then Katura, votes with Austin and takes out Julie, which,
Yeah.
um, we talked a little bit about it, but I mean, I think the move was to take
Big
out D.
blunder.
Yeah, huge blunder. Um,
Well, I think the thing is, it's like, I feel both of them had their arguments on,
yeah,
why things didn't go right. Because like, Jake was mad. He was like, you made me swear on my Nana about this. Like,
yeah,
well, how come you didn't? And then she was like, you just don't know. I didn't feel safe. And
yeah,
then it's like, like it's something that's like, well, why didn't you tell me the idol? And like, I think both brought good arguments where it's like, well, why didn't you tell me you were play it? And then Jake was like, no, I wanted you to not feel safe in the sense of like, I wanted you to feel, actually feel the feelings. Basically, he
yeah,
was, method acting, basically, like, oh,
yeah,
you know, and remember, future Survivor contestants, hit up Ryan Wayne and I will coach you on
yeah,
your acting skills. You once you get your coaching from Adam Klein about your audition tape, and you get Jonathan Young as your personal trainer. You get Ryan Wayne, who is just a big Survivor fan and does not have great resumes like the two others about your acting.
yeah. Hey,
Um,
you can teach them Darman acting.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So
mostly the same.
yeah,
Like there are different things here and there, but like, as long as
yeah,
you're living under the circumstances, whatnot. Anyway,
yeah,
digression. But no, that was just like a crazy thing and a great way to kind of like start off the episode, like for like a final five, like, because
yeah,
like that's the first chunk. That was a great way to end the chunk with something iconic, something crazy,
yeah.
a little subversion of expectations as well. It wasn't a dog pile. It was basically it was the exact opposite of a dog pile. It was just like dog kennel.
Yeah. It was interesting because all five people going into that tribal had different wants and needs for their own games.
Yeah.
And even though the Reba at this point Reba 3 had like that alliance, they all needed different things for
Yeah.
their games. And so it's so interesting the fact that like none of them was really budging except for Katura, who ends up budging pretty much for being scared that it was going to be her.
Yeah. Um, no, fantastic, fantastic thing. Also, like, if you're worried that the votes are going to be on you, if it's going to be the Reba 3 against you, and
Mhm.
that's 3 votes that are going to be on you.
Yeah.
So you voting for Julie at that point, the thing is, splitting the votes don't really do anything. If anything, it takes away a number from you. So you might as well go with D if that's your target, because it's like, well, if the 3 by 3 already decided on you, your ticket's already punched.
Yeah.
Um, so there you go.
Yeah, it definitely was a confusing decision for Katora there.
Yeah.
It definitely a misstep, and it kind of reminded me of the Jesse Carla Final Five actually in some aspects of Carla kind of went into that and I think also Jesse, I think both of them needed a certain thing to happen to get them to have one of them have a chance of winning and get to the final three.
Yeah.
But they couldn't work together. They
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 couldn't
could
trust one
they
another, no.
couldn't trust one each other, just like how this situation went out. And because that trust wasn't there for the most critical time of their game, it caused both of them to kind of not be able to do what they needed to. Little different in the sense like Jesse would have won if he made final three, whereas Jake, he needed this move to even try to like pitch himself.
Yeah.
But still, that at the end of the day kills his game because now he's sitting at final four, having done basically nothing right in the game. You can win fire. No one's going to give you $1 million because you won fire.
Yeah. I mean, it can be a nice little flex move.
Yeah.
Like it made, it raised eyebrows for like, is it, Heidi, like she really didn't, it helped with like at least one vote, or
Yeah.
like,
But
we
I will
talked.
say, I think Danny was already going to vote for Heidi. Like, I
Yeah,
think she already had
probably.
that vote. What Fire really does is if there is a very close, like,
Yeah.
decision, I think it gives, like, that slight little nudge, but it's
Which is,
not.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is why D was like, no, Austin, you're not going to fire,
Yeah.
because like that's the nudge you were talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
that could have given him like an extra vote. Suddenly you're at a tie, and then Jake is or I guess whoever is
no, Jake would be
yeah
the tiebreaker.
yeah Jake would be in the tiebreaker in this situation, and I don't know, he maybe votes Austin there. Like I like there's a
He
chance.
got very chummy with Austin near the end.
Yeah, Austin was giving him a lot of help. Um,
Yeah, helping him out with the fire,
yeah.
being like, hey, like, because like there was a whole like, and they always kind of like ham up the, well, who's actually gonna go
Mm-hmm.
make fire, even if it's blatantly obvious. And then when it's that thing of like Austin being like, oh yeah, so Jake's not as good as we thought about making fire. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, trying to, pitch himself to go to. I love that moment. It's like he was like, and we did kind of see the like competition between him and D, where it was like, hey, am I that easy to beat that you're not gonna even put me in there?
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, it was a little thing where it was like, you know, and even
Yeah.
at Final Tribal, like there was a moment where they were going tit for tat for each other. It was like, oh, this. Well, actually,
Yeah.
yeah, it was actually my decision to do that, and I didn't tell you that. I told Julie. So, ooh, a little truth bomb there.
Uh-huh.
And them kind of being like, it was they were going at each other, and I loved it. I was like, the knives are starting to come out.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
cool.
I thought that Jeff needed to become like a couples counselor at some point because of
Yeah.
how much they were going in at each other.
Hmm.
Which, I love the little foreshadowing though, like Dee basically told Austin, like, that she's gonna, let it all out. Like she's
Yeah.
and I think she even said this in exit press was the fact that she was sitting against two guys for her, she felt like she was able to like fight more because she was afraid of, because she wanted to sit next to Julie at the end. She wanted it to be Austin and Julie, and she said, I don't think I could have actually told all this stuff and argued it if Julie's sitting there, because I can't do that to Mama J, but I can
Yeah.
do that to Austin and Jake.
Yeah. I mean, thing is, it's like, and that just goes to show the power of Mama J.
Mhm.
Um, because it's like going after your mom or going after a mother figure. It just like
Yeah.
it kind of cuts a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, no, I feel like, and that was just like a great, like it's also, I think it's a similar situation that Austin brought up when Drew got eliminated, where it was like, he even said, it was like, it would have been cool to have Drew here, but like the votes would have been split because we were a duo, and that doesn't help us out. And I think the same thing with D. I feel like
Mhm.
votes might have been split a little bit, even if it was
Yeah.
like one or two Julie's way. And let's say instead of like whether it was Austin and Jake, like that's a vote maybe away from D, and then maybe, there's a tie somewhere there. So it's like always one of those things where, especially at, when there's 8 jury members and the tiebreaker is someone else there, every vote matters.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought there was even a chance that there's going to be like one or two votes going on to Jake. I thought
Yeah,
I thought it was possible.
yeah,
Like Katora, I could see it why she votes for D, obviously, but there's also kind of like I wonder if she
hmm,
votes for Jake. Also being the last Bellow member standing, like
yeah,
definitely could have potentially gotten him votes.
and the underdog stuff too, and like
Yeah,
Caleb, as well. Like
yeah,
what I liked about they brought something, they kind of shadow brought something back. It wasn't a full thing, but like the walk, like of the fallen tribe members and whatnot.
yeah.
They
The rites of
basically did that,
passage.
the rite of passage with jury members. They didn't go, it wasn't like the actual rite of passage, but they went
Yeah,
jury member by jury member and like, got kind of like got their thoughts about everything.
yeah.
Um, which was cool because like, you know, we like to remember those that paved the way.
Hmm.
And stuff. And then we get to hear from them again because like we'll hear little like whispers and stuff in the jury thing, but like you get to hear more from them
Yeah,
this time
yeah,
around.
yeah. I think they kind of did something like last season where they gave all of the jury members like that extra confessional about who was left.
Yeah,
But it was a lot quicker. This one felt like they were able to get more out of it.
dragging it out for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There was a lot more thought into it. I know that I've thought if I was out there that I would literally say, "Hey, I know that we're not doing a rite of passage, but I want us to kind of let's recap everything that happens." Like
Yeah.
I would kind of I would be trying to bring that to the table if I was in a final three. So I'm kind of glad
Yeah.
that I kind of saw like how I'd imagine it would have gone. So
Yeah. And I think we all have those little survivor fantasies. What do we do here? You know,
yeah,
if one of us gets on or, you know, bring that up. Like if you're watching this and you're going to be in 47, 48, um, now that seems like a possibility because,
yeah,
uh, you know,
yeah.
Survivor contestants maybe suggested our videos, so you never know.
Yep.
Maybe someone from 46 is a current viewer and they just haven't revealed themselves yet. Uh,
Exactly. Hey, it's the Survivor Specialist. Adam Klein was a watcher of the Survivor Specialist before he was even on the season.
yeah.
Like it happens, Yeah, there's a lot of super fans out there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, it's like, hey, let's talk about let's do our own little rite of passage. That way, production doesn't have to set up the torches or anything. Even the fourth boot gets their little, you know, thing as well,
Hmm.
their little like moment as well. Because that was like the only downside to the rite of passage was that the last person eliminated didn't necessarily get that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely nice to kind of see all that happening. This season definitely was trying to get back to some old school roots.
yeah,
Or at least like middle school, in the 20s kind of situation.
I
Which is
agree.
very appreciated because I think the comic consensus is the first 41 to 44 had a lot of issues in terms of the structure and the editing, and it felt like they're trying to be like, okay, maybe some of the stuff we were doing weren't working. Let's go back to some of the things that people love and utilize it again.
Yeah. And I think that's like a good thing too. They're growing, they're learning from stuff. Because
Yeah,
like, you know, fan perception obviously plays a factor into it, but it's also like, oh, hey, maybe this was a little too twist heavy. Oh,
yeah,
hey, maybe, yeah, let's bring back this or the tribe swap, because we haven't done that in a while. Or,
yeah,
you know, um, or
yeah.
rewards outside of the sanctuary.
Yeah. Yeah. What's really interesting also to note is that after season 20, there was a 4 season kind of rut that Survivor hit that's often known as like the dark ages of Survivor.
Yeah.
Because and they were trying a bunch of new things. There's a lot of new concepts that they were kind of trying to pigeonhole into the game, and
Yeah.
it just wasn't working. There's a lot of weird casting decisions. I think the casting, at least in this 4 episode or the for 41 to 44, was better than 21 to 24. Um, but
I agree.
there was definitely some off things that Survivor was having to kind of deal with because Survivor 20 was so great. And I feel like we got a similar situation with 40 Winners at War, huge season. Kind of it felt like, how do you progress the game after we
Yeah.
just saw this happen? And so they threw in a lot of new things. They tried a lot of new things that just was not the game of Survivor. And I think now, after essentially 2 years of realizing the mistakes of that, I think now
Yeah.
they're finally able to say, okay, wait a second, some of this is not good. Let's try to change. Let's you know let's bring back the tribe swap. Let's bring back the Survivor auction. Let's bring back the Survivor intros. you know
Oh yeah, the intros, like
yeah.
that I remember, and I talked about this about the very first episode here. When I heard that, I teared up because it was
Yeah,
like, wow. Especially we live in a day and age where so many people skip the intros to stuff. Like,
yeah,
um, it's just like, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I always liked it because it just kind of gets you hyped for the show.
yeah,
Um, it's like, it gets you hyped, gets you pumped. Or last minute chance to get your snacks or whatever, which obviously if you're streaming, you don't necessarily need because like, you can just pause it whenever. But it's
yeah.
like, it gets you pumped and whatnot, and you get to see everyone, everyone's face and whatnot.
Yeah, I appreciate it for the live viewing. It is also just great, as you just said, to give everyone at least like a second or two of being on the screen of each episode, because
Yeah,
there are chances that you're just not even in the episode at all, even if you're still in the game.
yeah,
Like that's a possibility. Less of a possibility, obviously, with 90-minute episodes, which now we got this season and next season is 90-minute episodes.
oh yeah,
So I'm excited for that. I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think whereas this season was 90 minutes across the board, I think next season starts with a 2 hour premiere and then goes
yeah,
into the 90 minutes episode. So
makes sense. I'm all for it. Before we talk about 40s, we still got do we do LVP and MVP for the episode, or do we just straight up go for the season?
Um, Ooh, I mean, because of how the season played out, I kind of just want to do this episode because I mean, I would just give it to the two quitters for LVP. Um,
Makes sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. It's kind
Okay.
of hard because like thing is, even like Brandon, he tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very down on himself, but he was like not necessarily giving up. Like he
Yeah.
kind of like knew that he was screwed,
He
but he
was ready
wasn't
to
like
play there. He would have played 26 days if no one voted him off.
he was he was the water boy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then Jake hardly I'd say also I didn't bring this up to him, but it's like you also never went to tribal council pre-jury or like you never went to tribal council pre-merge or
Yeah.
mergatory. So like consider that a win too. I know it's more of a group thing, but like
Yeah.
the self-talk, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, let's do for this episode because I think there's some interesting choices of what we could do just based off of this episode.
I think LVP,
It's
I don't
tough.
know.
There's obviously two. I think there's two clear choices for LVP, and it's just which one do you value more?
I don't know. Who do you think the two choices are?
I think it's definitely between Jake and Katora. Because I
E
think oh, you don't seem positive on
no, I'm
that.
like, yeah. I mean, even an argument could be made for Julie. I wouldn't say Julie. I don't
Yeah,
want to say I might have to say with all the love, but there were just so many pitfalls that Jake created for himself
yeah,
where it's like it's kind of hard not to like granted he made it further and I feel like he got like a hell of a like underdog and rooting for him thing, but
uh,
there were just like forgetting a key,
yeah, yeah,
missing that, and then breaking a
yeah.
challenge.
That's the thing. So like I feel like Katora made one really
Critical,
catastrophic,
yeah.
like absolute critical failure move. Whereas Jake had just a bunch of like kind of smaller ones, but like a bunch of them, like a lot of
Yeah.
mistakes that happened.
But the thing
But
is,
he
him
won
breaking the
fire.
challenge made me laugh so much.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's the thing also. Entertainment value.
Yeah.
Jake was like on another level entertainment value this episode. So
Oh yeah.
so
Total drop.
yeah. So entertainment value, I mean definitely not an LVP in that category.
No, no, no,
So
no.
so that like that's the thing is like do I weigh that cuz I do think I think he did, he also beat Katura in fire. Katura probably one of the worst fire makers in the new era right now.
Yeah.
Because at least everyone else who even was facing like record times got a little bit of a fire going.
Yeah.
So there's that, I guess, also against Katora.
I think the thing is, it was also sad because Katora didn't get like a coach either.
Yeah, yeah,
Like she
she
was just
she
kind of
she was on her
yeah.
own. But if people have also been talking like because I guess Jeff is even thinking about getting rid of fire. He
I heard
he's
I heard that too.
yeah, he's in that kind of debates because I'm not fully sure on all the reasons. But if we did have a normal vote here, Katora just goes home. Like
Yeah.
like it would have just been a very simple vote. Maybe the drama would have been can Katora get Jake to vote against Austin to go in a fire of Austin versus Katora.
Yeah.
That would have
I don't know.
been
It's tricky. And I think that's the interesting thing too. It's like, yeah, they're talking about it. 46 is already filmed, so I don't know
yeah.
if I didn't talk to the 46 peeps. There were 46 peeps there, which I
Mm-hmm.
thought was interesting because it's like, oh, so they're like it kind of gives you a think of like, I don't think a first boot would arrive right before, like spend the
Yeah.
money to come out here.
Yeah.
just cause for the lulls
Oh
before their
man.
season actually premieres. Like
I'm about to get creamed in this next fantasy draft for the season.
there was only a handful.
Yeah. But I bet if
I'm
you
thinking
draft those handful, I mean, you know.
we'll see. But no, we'll see.
Yeah.
But before we get to 46, if you really gotta, so MVP, I think obviously goes to D. She
Yeah,
fought
definitely.
very hard. Um, also, I before we talk more about it, like also like that final tribal council was the best of the new era because like it did feel like everyone had an equal shot.
Uh,
And it also didn't end up a 7-1. There
yeah,
was like a
finally.
part where, and you guys will watch it in the vlog, where I'm like, is it going to be a tie? Is it going to be a tie? Because like it was like four
Yeah.
and three, and then it's like, oh my God, we're like excited. Like
Yeah.
we don't know the outcome.
Yeah.
It was, yeah,
Remember when those final vote reviews were actually like there was drama to
suspenseful.
those? Yeah.
Yeah. And it was this time, and it was like made it all the more exciting because like the energy was real.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so I have to give it to D, not only because she won, but also her end game and how she just
Yeah.
went for it
Yeah.
was so, good. So I
Yeah.
just have to say that yeah, she gets it.
Yeah. Um, the only thing that really was against her this episode was that she definitely got lucky with Katora.
Yeah,
Because that was her like bit of luck that she needed to get this win
yeah,
was Katora last minute changing her votes. Because otherwise we probably get a very different edited season, in my opinion. Also, I think there's a lot of different
yeah,
things that we're seeing. I think, obviously D would be looked at as probably not as strong as a player because they would probably have been focusing a lot more on Katora or Austin.
yeah. Katora would have more confession, not 78% of them being on Bruce.
On Bruce, yeah. So Katora, that's the reason why you got all the Bruce contents.
You didn't trust Jake.
Yeah.
You you reap what you sow. We're saying with all the love. We're
Uh,
just horsing around.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Now we're going to be a lot more careful what we say about
I've been careful.
Yeah, I don't. If I say something that's makes someone upset, that's just how it is. We're in the
Emily
podcast
called
game.
Emily did say, I forgive your confidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Hey, if she watches though, like our review of episode 3 onwards, I
yeah,
became a big Emily stan.
no, no, no. But yes, Emily gets MVP of the season in my book.
100%.
And yeah, last night is a big factor into that. Um, yeah, because I would say I got to talk to her a bit more than some of the other ones.
Mhm.
There were some like I couldn't get near D. D was like
Oh
fell
yeah.
the ball. I couldn't get near Austin. Let's see. I didn't really get to like Sean was there. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him. For Sabaya, I just never was able to get in. Katora, I don't know where the hell she went after she came in. Kelly, I ran into but didn't get like a picture with.
Mhm.
I did talk to Jay Maya, told her that I was a fan, that she, winner pick and whatnot. And that was super cool. So yeah, and then like I said, talk to Drew about Pokemon. Yeah, didn't get a chance to talk to Brandon, but yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Nice. Okay, I think we're pretty much at the end here, but I want to now get the solidified ranking of the new era seasons.
okay. Uh, for me, I'm gonna go from bottom to top.
Okay.
41 goes on the bottom. Then I say 44,
Mhm.
then 43, 42, and 45 is number one.
Okay. Okay, so we have it a little different then. I but agreed bottom spot 41. I think
Yeah,
that's just right out the
there,
gate
there was
there.
just growing pains with that one.
yeah, definitely. And then next up I have 42. Uh,
Okay.
and then I have 44 in the next spots, 43 above that, and then I have 45.
All right. We got the pieces of bread in the ring.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just I know some people are also down on like 43 because they didn't like that Gabler one. But I think I view the winner as the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
the final little great thing, but if the ice cream itself is better in my opinion than the others that has a better cherry, I'm gonna prefer the ice cream over the cherry.
Valid. It's a valid argument.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I don't know. I feel 42 because, like, I don't know, like, because I got to talk to Gabler last night too. Not about the game, but like I
Mhm.
did say, I was like, both. If you guys didn't know, I may have mentioned it before. I have a soft spot for like vets and stuff that play the game because both my parents are vets,
Mhm.
and the fact that I like Gabler was like, yeah, I'm going to donate it. Like I thanked him for that. I let him know that both my family members were vets, so like and then talking to him and just like getting to know the guy, I'm like he's super like personable too. Like, hell
Mhm.
yeah, in a social game, it's like a guy like this. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I will say his winner edit is there. It's
It
just
is.
it is like actually like in your face the entire time, but we were just blinded because
We were latching on to an idea.
yeah, we saw how great Jesse was playing the game, and we saw how great Carlo was playing the game, and we saw how great Cody was playing the game.
Yeah.
That we were like, well, we got three great players right here. Well, why can't it be one of them?
Yeah. That happens. I don't know. I think also because like, because I'm tight with Zach. So like, also that kind of bumps up 42 for me a little bit
Yeah,
too, because I've gotten
yeah,
to know him. So yeah, I think there's that. Also, the Jonathor stuff was super cool.
yeah.
Also, like because we never had a winner quite like Marianne before.
Hmm.
So there are some factors there.
Yeah.
43, like I feel like it's like between 42 and 43 for me. It's like it could depend on the day you ask me, but I feel like
Uh,
42 has a little bit more merit in my book.
yeah, yeah. 44, like I love the Tika 3. Like, don't
Yeah,
get me wrong, but that's like the season is those three, and then everyone else is just like maybe we'll get something. Maybe something will
yeah,
come their way. And it's
and that
like
was that was
how
a big thing of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How can I judge that season super high when really I think there's like three great players and then a bunch of like, they were all right,
We weren't getting as much screen time with them
yeah,
as we would. And it's not and I think it wasn't necessarily I think it was more an editing issue than runtime issue
yeah,
because it was like because y'all this isn't your first rodeo.
yeah,
Um and yes, the Tika 3 are some of the most like entertaining people that were on that tribe or like in Survivor, especially in modern age. Like
yeah,
they had so many one-liners or so many great confessionals where it's like, it's like it's hard not to show them. It's kind of like Russell Hantz, where it's like, how do you not focus on Russell Hantz during that season?
yeah,
So like the editors had like their money cut out for them and you know, is there a better edit out there? Possibly, but obviously the
yeah.
show runners and the people that are like behind that thought this was the best way to go about it.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, just compare though to this season that we just got where
Oh yeah.
we got like 12 or 13 people who I think would be great to
Yeah.
go again. Like that is just totally
Yeah.
different numbers.
And also like this season had so much like subversion of expectations. The amount of like screen time we got with people, some crazy all the like history stuff that just happened here. Um, that also plays a factor into it. It was like, oh, yeah, and like such a great cast. So many yeah, I feel like this was definitely a great season. I'm gonna have to like look back at my rankings. Is
Mhm.
it top 10? It might. I don't think it's like
It's tough.
it might. It might beat out one or
Yeah.
two things. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's top five, but I definitely can possibly see it in the top 10.
Yeah. I'm trying to think because I think it had that steam, but I
Yeah.
think there was maybe a couple episodes where it was a little more predictable of how the game was going. That yet again, I have to look at the lists to like
Yeah.
know. But like,
Also, recency bias can
yeah,
play factor. I always take that into account too, where I'm like, is it,
yeah, because like
um,
my gut instinct, if I had to place it somewhere, would be like somewhere between 12 to 14.
yeah,
Which, by the way, great season. If you
yeah,
if you're on a season that's in the top 20 of Survivor, good
yeah.
job.
Also, it's like we're not saying that anything even below 20 is bad. It's just
Yeah.
like, a lot of times there's just like, yeah, and that's like one of the things with like competition show or reality competitions. Sometimes other seasons are going to be great because there's no writer and stuff like that. They're working with the material they got.
Mhm.
Um, So like, some seasons by nature, a lot more people are going to get behind because they just captured something great in that moment.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I'm not saying, oh, if it's not in the top 10, it's not worth watching.
Yeah.
No,
No.
not at all. It's just like, like when you have favorites of anything, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, but these are like,
Yeah.
I personally, I'm someone where I go on Letterboxd and I rank my movies. And like there are some where I'm like they're down low on that list. I'm like, oh gosh. But there are some like that are in the 50s and stuff. I'm trying to watch 100. I'm currently at the time of recording at 95. I have five
Mhm.
more before I reach my quota. And like there are some at like I was looking down at like 50 and 60. I'm like, man, this was a good movie. I don't want like I feel bad
Mhm.
that it's on the latter half of the list. Like,
Yeah.
they're in the 50s or 60s because I think they're enjoyable to watch. But I'm also like these movies.
Yeah.
Um,
And also it's all objective,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
totally up to that. Like I would put Gabon, for instance, like ranked 38 or something out of all the seasons.
But Ryan ranks that up
Yeah.
not super high, but like,
Some
you
people
know,
some people would put it as a top five season. Like I'll just say it. Like some people would love that stuff. Like I think if I showed my friends who I watch Survivor, if I showed them Gabon, I think they would love
yeah, you
it.
never know. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's just like the thing. We all have our favorites. And like, even if it's like little things like what I was saying, like with, 42 being a little higher because of like, some of the people I know from that season, or, like 45 might be, or like, hell, even favorite contestants, like getting to
Mhm.
know Heidi a little bit more, talking to Emily, and like her being a fan, like, you
Yeah.
watch our show, like, obviously.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you found us on YouTube recommendations. Hell yeah.
and you watched more than one episode
Yeah.
and you recognize me, which
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, happens. I'm not trying to sound conceited or anything, but like I expect it from my kids and whatnot when I see it from someone that I personally watch on TV. And then they're like, oh, I recognize you. That's never happened before. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And from our channel, which our we have a very small community here,
yeah,
very it's not a lot, so to to
yeah.
to, to
So like
think to think that a Survivor player would have found us and watched some of our stuff. That's great.
exactly. So
And it not be
um
from like us doing a cameo. Having
no, 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 no. I mean, all the love's that. But like,
Yeah.
that was just like a wild thing. Like, good gosh, I kind of want to peek in the parallel universe if you were there and
Yeah.
like we were both there and be like, oh, dude, that would have been. It was already like a fun, crazy night,
Yeah.
but like if you were there, you have to, you
I
have to
know.
come down
Yeah.
for,
Yeah. I'm definitely I'm trying one of these times. It'll definitely happen.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah. Is there anything else about 45? Um, oh, final confessional accounts.
Oh yes, final confessional counts. Okay, so Julie. ends with 47 confessionals, the lowest of the finale people here. Um, then we got Jake with 60 confessionals.
Okay.
Then we got D with 63. So she actually had the third most confessionals in this finale group. And then do you want to make a guess between Austin and Katurah who had the most confessionals?
I think your narrative suggests that it might actually be Katurah that had the most confessionals. But I'm gonna say, well, I saw your reaction.
Yeah, what was I
Though
about to say?
I don't know. I'm just gonna stick with my gut and say Austin because, like, he made it to the final day.
You are correct. It is Austin.
Okay.
Austin ends the season with the most confessionals of the season with 71 confessionals, whereas Katurah had 65. Um,
Yes.
yeah, crazy Austin's the one to end the season with the most confessionals.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like not necessarily. I would say like there were a lot of times where, like, we talked about the subversion of expectations of like, or subvert. Yeah, that was correct. Where we had, Sabaya have the most confessionals up into her elimination. Same thing with Caleb. Same thing with Emily. Um, did yeah. So did he have the most out of everyone, or was it like Austin?
Yeah, no, Austin had the most. And he was 71. The next highest out of everyone was Drew with 65 confessionals.
Oh, okay,
And then
gotcha,
it was I guess Katurah and Drew were tied with 65 there. And then
gotcha.
D and then Emily. And then
All right,
check
cool,
yourself there. So yeah.
nice. But yeah, I loved 45, and my final thought. All right, what were some of your favorite moments? I already told you some of mine.
Yeah.
The Top Gun
Yeah. Yeah.
was like just so
That
out of left
was
field, but beautiful.
yeah, that was definitely a tough one. Let's not forget the dancing bug in the
The
pre-merge,
dance, but
the stick bug or whatever it was.
the stick bug. That
Yeah.
episode in general, yes, my winner pick got eliminated during that time, but boy, was it not.
It was a great
I still
episode.
think one of the greatest episodes, definitely in the mod or the new era,
Uh-huh.
but like in Survivor in general, it's like, oh, this had so many twists and turns. It was fun. It
It's,
had, like it made history.
yeah.
Episodes that make Survivor history, they obviously get a little bump as well, or
Yeah.
even a big bump depending on what it is. So like,
Yeah.
it was just like a fantastic episode.
Yeah, that move alone probably locked Caleb into an all-star returning season. Like
Mhm.
I think like without a doubt, like the narrative that they're going to like tell about how he is the first person to successfully play the shot in the dark and everyone was voting for him. I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to have preseason press all about
Oh yeah.
that.
And then another one from one of the very first things, Emily calling out Bruce
Bruce.
at the
Yeah.
mat.
Yeah.
That like obviously it set up a thing where it's like, whoa, who does that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I honestly I love the first like two episodes. I loved Brandon actually because of how bad he was in challenges. Like moving forward, I kept like thinking to myself, man, I wish Brandon was still in the game so I could see him try doing some of this stuff because there was a lot of entertainment value to be had with him. Um,
oh yeah.
like
The,
sure he wasn't a great player, like he was bad at all this stuff, but like that was the fun. Like it was,
yeah.
and I it seems like he like it took it pretty well too. Like he was laughing with it, so hopefully, he wasn't looking at it and being like, oh man, look at how terrible I'm being perceived here. But I mean, it was just great entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, the friends we make along the way, Ryan. That's really what Survivor is all about. I feel like I got to see Survivor through the lens of people who were less strategically thinking this
Yeah.
season. which is very different because normally I watch Survivor pretty much by myself, so it's like I kind of can. I'm just looking at the game. I'm just
Yeah.
like, what's the right moves? But now I was seeing it through people who just were like, I like this person, I want that person to be in the game, and I don't like that person, I don't want that person to be in the game.
Yeah. Even like because like the group I was with, it was like there was like four of us. And like, we were kind of like talking throughout like watching the finale and whatnot, like in between commercial breaks and stuff. And it was cool. Like, and these were like people I didn't meet before. Um, I was just kind of like sitting at, the bar. I just kind of finished. I'll admit, guys, I am introverted until someone talks to me. Like once I'm able to like, be like, oh, expert and stuff, like, once that's awakened, then like, yeah, but me, I find it so weird going up to a stranger and be like, hey. Well, obviously, when it's talking to some of the contestants at these Bryson Wen thing, it's obviously like I'm a fan. Like this is why you're here,
Yeah.
to meet us. So like we're able and like obviously talk with other contestants and enjoy yourself. But like that's like a big thing coming in. Like you're gonna be talked to by fans. I'm like, well, where when else am I going to see J Maya? When else am I going to see Allie Gabler?
Mm-hmm.
Or stuff like that. It's like you may not get that opportunity again, so like you got to go for it and talk to them.
Yeah.
Or so man, but yeah, like talking to them and stuff, and then all of us like talking about, oh yeah, we're gonna be on 47, 48, we'll be in the All-Star, we'll have alliances that, and just like talking about
Yeah.
that, it was just like a good experience.
Yeah, that's crazy to think that there might actually be a Bryson Wen alliance with people who go to Bryson Wen events and creating alliances.
You never know. I mean, hell, even Wendell himself had a little thing with Dom beforehand where they were in the same like interview group and stuff. They never like really talked or whatever, but they
Mhm.
just kind of like a vibe. They got a good vibe check from each other.
Yeah,
And that's one of those things.
exactly. So yeah, it's another one of those things. I think looking at future all-star seasons, I think that's going to come up almost in the way like that poker alliance came up in Winners at
Yeah.
War. I think we're going to see Bryson Wen like footage that will be put into the show at some point
Yeah.
of these of alliances from these parties.
Yeah. And there wasn't even a formal thing about it in the show itself or in the season, but Second Chance, they
Yeah,
were like,
there's a lot of
like
pre-gaming.
they told, well, I mean, it's like who the potential cast is. So like they
Yeah,
were like legit already kind of
they were all
they
campaigning and talking to each other.
yeah.
Yeah, and apparently, like some of them thought some people were like locks who ended up not being locks, like Shane, for instance. People thought
Yeah.
Shane was like, why? How
It's
could
just
they not put
weird
Shane on?
because people were like because Shane one coming from Panama, which is like, you know,
Mhm.
that's one of those seasons where that is in some people's top 10, top fives, or their favorite season.
Yeah.
Um, and I can see why. Oh, case in point, Suri, that's
Yeah.
Suri's first season. Like, if that's your favorite season, just based off of that, I don't blame you.
Yep.
I'd be like, yeah, that's granted, you should never have to like. I'll be curious why something is your favorite season, but like, there is no necessarily wrong answer. If you say it's Thailand, I do want to,
There's
I
some
do want to
questions.
like, I do want to know why.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it's just like you just love shitty reality TV, no, as in not like, but like kind of like the B movie crowd where they just live for B movies and whatnot. Maybe it's
Uh,
just like, oh, they like, stuff like that where it's like, oh man, you never know. But
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
exactly.
What would you say is the best season to show someone who is just getting into Survivor?
Honestly, this season would be a good one
Yeah.
because it's more of like modern.
Mhm.
28 is a common one. Tocantins was one I started out with, or like that's not the one that I watched fully, but it was the one where, okay, I might actually start watching Survivor now because I like
Uh,
entered like near the end of that.
yeah,
Um, Pearl Islands is another good one, though I might
yeah.
that might be a second season, TBH.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say because like I think right now you gotta watch you gotta show people seasons 28 or further, like at least like 3 or 4 to like
yeah,
let people know what modern Survivor is before you go back further than that. Like I'm gonna show my friends now Cagayan next.
that's a good
I've
one.
already got like the plans that
33 as well.
yeah
33 as well.
yeah 33 37 are I think probably the ones I'm going to then show after Cagayan, and then I'll probably start being like, okay, you know what, let's go back and watch Tocantins, let's go back and watch China.
Yeah.
Maybe gauge, see if they want to try to watch a Gabon, or maybe try to see if they like Samoa. I wonder how they like
Here's
Russell.
the thing. And there was someone in my group that, they were new to Survivor. They started watching because they were Big Brother fans and Tika 3 kept popping up. Then they started watching Survivor.
Mhm.
And this was the first season they saw live. And
Yeah,
he sounded like someone where like he really, really clearly if you're paying whether it's 35 or $45 or whatever, and you're driving out in the middle of all the rain, which by the way, it's raining here in Los Angeles right now. It sucks.
yeah.
Um, I'm not a big fan of the rain, but also driving in the rain in rush hour is not fun at all. Um,
Yep.
but like, especially if you're doing that, like you're pretty much a super fan, even if you haven't watched everything yet. So I was like,
Yeah.
it sounds like you're a person that is going to watch everything anyway. So I'd say, yeah, just start with one. Then again,
Mhm.
it's like how you like to view stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I feel like if I definitely showed my friends right now the first season of Survivor, they would not like
yeah,
it. I think that I think even though that they loved this season and like they thought there was a lot of great stuff, I feel like it's too early to show them what Survivor originally was, because
of how
I love
far
the
it's
roots,
advanced.
but yeah, it is not a fun watch at points. Like it can be tough to watch with like a modern brain.
That's
um,
fair.
but I think once you love Survivor, and then you'll appreciate where the game starts. But if you don't love Survivor's formats and what it is, I don't think you're gonna love where it starts.
That's very valid. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah. All right. So speaking of like where it's going and whatnot, the 46 trailer,
yeah.
it took a lot of people by surprise because they included people's audition tapes.
Yeah, interesting choice. Which yet again, going to the theme of them wanting you to apply, in my opinion, like they were trying to show people's
Yeah.
auditions to be like, look at this. The cast did stuff just like this. Do it.
Yeah. I feel I feel part of it is it's one of those things where because the format of a Survivor trailer is typically the same. So I
Yeah,
appreciated the mix up where it was like a little bit of them on the island, but it
yeah,
was like there was a big focus of like, oh, this is them in their natural habitat. It also is like makes it a little harder to piece all the things together as well.
yeah. I will say I've been super hyped about the trailers that they would do at the end of the seasons for the next one. I was not super hyped for this one. This one I was a little more confused. I felt like there was only one person that really was a standout, and that's the person who got their buff. Which, by the way, why are they getting their buff in that first confessional there? Is that something they do, or is like what's happening there?
No, that is interesting. I was a little thrown off by that as well, but
Yeah,
like I think that's one of the things where oh, it could be
a twist.
like I might walk back and I'm like, okay, now because fun fact, for those who may not know, but like, obviously they don't just happen to wear colors like this
Yeah,
to match their tribe. sometimes they do have like wardrobe people who are like, hey, you're a nerdy dude.
Yeah.
You're gonna here, wear this.
Yeah.
It's the color of your tribe. Um,
Yeah.
Funny enough.
Yeah, I believe Elizabeth from David versus Goliath did not want to wear a cowboy hat. And they requested that she wears the cowboy hat because they wanted that to be her. They wanted people to really know her backstory based off of her look. So she had to get kind of labeled that with that.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah. So fun fact for those at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. Um I'm curious to see where things go. I have to like brush up. Obviously, the people that were at the party are going to stand out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, nothing. And I'm just saying this, Joe. If you want to dig through the annals of the Bryson Wet present, be like, huh, and then go like, obviously, nothing stops you. I'm pretty sure this would be something you would do anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I will say I was definitely did less research this season for the pregame. The so for the preseason. I felt like I barely looked at people's socials. I kind of was just going off of gut instincts.
for me, it definitely was looking at the bios and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, I don't know. I think this one, especially because I went harder for this one because of what happened last season with
Uh,
44. How I had no one, a big fat zero in the finale episode,
mm-hmm.
which, I've mentioned this before, but if this is your first time watching, Joe drafted Bruce. So he really only had 8 contestants. So he was already playing this at a disadvantage. And to top it all off, he only lost 3 of those.
Yeah.
I ended up losing all 9 pieces of my team.
Yeah.
Jamie being the very last one. And I'm like, oh my God, of course that happens to me.
Yeah.
And then,
It was pretty crazy.
this season, famously, I lost my winner
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah, to be fair, I went like all in basically on the Tika tribe, and I know you
Yeah,
were like thinking that they were going to be the disaster tribe, so you like were trying to avoid the Tika tribe.
a little. Yeah. What
Yeah,
can you do? You
yeah,
live, you learn, you laugh.
yeah. Um, okay, well, Ryan, we've done it. We have covered another season of Survivor. We're about to jump right back into the Brand Steel stuff. You know,
Yeah.
we got our 2023 Survivor. Uh,
I've already been thinking about the list for the past couple days.
yeah,
Of like,
I've got mine already drawn up too. So
all right, well, this is how it usually goes. Usually we'll come up with an idea
Mhm.
for one, and then we'll be like, oh, I'll probably get around to it tomorrow. And then one of us puts in their list like not even an hour later, and that lights a fire under the
And
ass of
then that
the
person's
other.
like, "Oh, I can do it real quick."
Yeah, that's typically how it goes. I haven't even typed mine up. I definitely have people in mind, but
Yeah,
like Joe, obviously, because he said that. Yeah, I'm a
yeah.
little sad this season ends because, like I said, it was so great, and I'm thinking about, last night. I'm thinking about this season, and like obviously this season is it was just so good. And I know recency bias, but
Mhm.
I don't know. 45 is definitely a special one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely a good one. And yeah, we'll see how 46 does. We're gonna get a good comparison, I think, to see how this time format works.
Yeah.
Because I think the season gets a lot of credit because the extra time, but
Yeah.
um I do also think that we just had a really great cast to work with on this
Agreed.
one. So
Agreed. All
um
right.
okay.
Well, I know I say it a lot, but yeah, it's every time we finish too, I always thank Joe for, because like Joe came to me for this. And it's just been fun talking about Survivor each week with Joe. Helped out a lot during the pandemic.
Mhm.
And then also it got me more into Survivor than I already was. And then lo and behold, like now I'm going to events
Yeah.
and being recognized by Emily Flippin' Flippin'.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you might not have gotten that experience if we weren't doing the podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like you never know, guys.
Yeah.
Even if you're someone where, oh, like we said, we don't get a bunch of views and whatnot. But for me, it's like I'm hanging out with Joe and we're talking about Survivor and we're having fun doing the simulations.
Mhm.
So like, that's what I'm here for. And so hell, next year it'll be like 5 years we've been
Yeah.
doing this. So like,
Yeah.
obviously we're both having fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's been great to be able to talk Survivor with you. I feel like I'm getting a lot more people now that are also Survivor fans. I
Yeah.
like I think you were the only person that I knew who liked Survivor. Like legit. Like I would ask people and they would be like, "Oh, that show's still on." Like that was
Yeah.
everyone says that. Um, and when I found out, like, I think I saw like you're you had like a post I remember about Game Changers.
Oh
Um,
yeah. About Sierra
it was
Easton and Tona
yeah.
being
Yeah, and
uh
but you were like talking more about Sierra, like, oh man, one of my favorites is gone, and I thought you meant Tony Vlachos.
oh it was
It was a
definitely
mix. Okay,
yeah.
okay,
But like,
because
yeah. And there are
yeah,
some people I find out near the end of like there were like two separate occasions where I was on the ride home from 2 years ago. I was on a ride home from set and whatnot. I was like, talking to one of my castmates and like we was like, oh, what are you gonna do when you get home? And then she was like, oh, yeah, I'll probably catch up on Survivor and stuff. I'm like, this whole time
mhm,
we could have been talking about Survivor.
yeah.
What the hell, Christine? Um,
uh but yeah, it's been great, Ryan, because I feel like you get to balance me out where I'm more the strategical minded person. Like I care
yeah.
so much about the strategy, whereas you're the heart of the channel right now.
Oh,
You have that emotional side. You got the crushes. You got the J Maya story that you got going on here. I hope she's watching and listening. And yeah, we both bring something different to the table, so it's definitely both of us here.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, and I mean, like, you're someone where you bring up a lot of things I never would have thought of before. And so, like, it makes me sound smarter when I talk about Survivor. And then
Mhm.
also it broadens my mind as well.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yeah.
great. Yeah. So Survivor also, listen, if you need a duo season, Ryan Ryan and I, we will go out there and we will give you the best TV
Yeah.
you could ever want.
But just be warned, Survivor. I'm one of those actors.
uh I'm not an actor. Don't hold that against me, Survivor. I'm an entrepreneur.
I stand by myself. I am a Slytherin. We are
Yeah,
prideful and we are not going
yeah.
to bend. Will I say, yeah, the Darman stuff and whatnot, and oh, YouTuber might be under my banner? Maybe, but that is the closest I will come to compromise with you.
Yeah. And I'm a Hufflepuff, so that means I'm a particularly good finder
Yes.
for
So
idols.
idols.
So
You know, yeah, which is useful. So
yeah.
yeah. I would love to go down each one and be like, man, this is like something I should have done during the pandemic. Like go down each one and be like, hey, This is a Hufflepuff or a Slytherin, Gryffindor, or Ravenclaw. But yeah, anyway,
Mm-hmm.
thank you guys once again for watching. You all are amazing.
Yep. And we will see you in the next one with some more Brand Steel content.
All right. Peace.